Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. Today is part 4 of building the world's fanciest Damascus pizza cutter. We're gonna kick things off by fixing a problem that I didn't know that I made in one of the previous episodes, and that is that I didn't get the oxygen sealing 15N20 plate off of the outside of this pattern welded Damascus blade. And so we're gonna have to turn ourselves down a tool to be able to hold it, to be able to grind that off. And so for that, we're gonna head to the lathe. But before we do that, let's thank today's sponsor.
Today's episode is brought to you by NordVPN. You can take control of your internet experience by getting 68% off a 2-year plan by going to nordvpn.com/forge. That adds up to just $3.71 a month for 24 months. And if you use code FORGE at checkout, you'll get an extra month for free. Thank you, Nord, for sponsoring this. Let's jump in.
So now what we can do is put a couple drops of super glue on here and super glue it to the opposite side of that blade, like that. We've got that little point to keep it concentric. And we'll chuck this up in our drill and just face that thing off nice and easy. Okay, so we got that piece of steel out of there. We can now go up in the grits and then do some hand sanding. So the first belt that I'm going to use is this Trizact 347 A100 belt. This is the finishing belt that we use for everything that we do. It's an incredibly durable, but still very fine finishing belt. It's the kind of new generation of the old Trizact belts. And as far as I know, Alec Steele Co. is the only place that carries these things, and I don't know why. I'm not mad about it, but they're really great and I love them. And they whoop the other Trizact belts' butts when it comes to finishing. All right, now that we've got that sorted out, we're gonna go ahead and etch the Isaiah here. That's the name for this tang piece because I didn't know exactly what to call it. And Isaiah, who's the man holding this camera, deserves a little bit more credit because he does a wonderful job. So we're gonna go ahead and etch Isaiah. I'm going to resist this part of the blade here. We didn't get nail polish at the store. Son of a gun. Okay, so here's where we're at. We've got our super cute nail polish. We're gonna make Isaiah look super cute. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a nice etch. So, while that is etching, I'm gonna go ahead and try some Evapo-Rust to see if it will remove forge scale. Now we had a little bit of forge scale build up on these parts while I was making them, because I kept on leaving them in the oven and forgetting to take them out and quench them. So there's extra forge scale on there right now. And forge scale is essentially just iron oxide, which is exactly what rust is. So I'm gonna see if Evapo-Rust will do a number on these and see if we can get those cleaned up a little bit. All right, we'll let those sit in there overnight. For now, I'm gonna wait until we can pull that thing out, and when that's done, we'll finally be able to fit up the guard, get that perfect fit. You can't do that before the etch. I used to do it that way. Josh Smith, our friend Master Smith over in Frenchtown, Montana, corrected me and let me know the right way to do it, and so I'm adjusting my ways, getting myself on the straight and narrow as far as bladesmithing goes. So we'll get that thing fit up, and then we'll move on to the rest of the handle. It should be plenty deep of an etch. We'll go ahead, get this thing neutralized. Oh, I almost made an edgy joke. Should I make it anyway?
No.
So we'll go ahead and quickly, we're gonna use acetone to get this nail polish off. And as you see, we've got that 2000 grit finish that we put on there before with absolutely no Damascus etching going on the inside there. Now that I've got it driven on and it's got a tight fit all the way around, I'm gonna take a small burr and relieve the material so that it has a recessed fit into the guard. And that'll just make it a little bit easier as I'm taking this thing apart and putting it back together for the rest of the build to maintain that nice clean fit all the way around. So now that it's looking really nice all the way around, you can go ahead and knock the guard off and then flatten down the top of it to see how it's looking. So now that we're real close, there's still a couple very small hammer marks. I'll move on to 220 and then 400 grit sandpaper. Well, the guard is looking really good. We got the rough profile bandsawed in, and I'm now going to take it to the belt sander, clean that up. You may notice that this S-guard looks terrible. And the reason for that is because this lower finial quillion, and it's bent down flat with the top of the guard. And the reason for that is that we didn't have a thick enough piece of bronze to be able to just profile it in. So I'm gonna grind in this profile and then bend it up above so we have that nice swoopy S-guard. Okay, so let me go ahead and try bending this. That's not gonna work. Let's grab some tongs. Okay, let's go ahead and try to bend this thing. That's not working. We're almost there. This is actually working pretty well. Now, that might have been a mistake. To be fair, it is in the right spot if it were to go back together. And also, I'm gonna try TIG welding. Oh gosh. All right, let's give this a shot. Well, saw it going one of two ways, but I never saw it going poorly. We're gonna make a new guard!
Cue time lapse.
Well, the guard is looking really nice. I got those balls carved onto the end, all freehand done with a file. It turns out making a sphere with a hand file, not the easiest thing in the world, but eventually we got pretty dang close, and that'll still need a little bit of fine tuning and sanding and stuff like that. I also got the start of the facets going here for the guard, and that'll lead throughout the whole handle with a nice centerline facet. It's now time to move on to doing the fossilized walrus ivory spacer, not elephant ivory. On the chef's knife that I did last, people got pretty frustrated that I was killing all the elephants. That's not the case. I wouldn't do that. I think elephants are very nice. I wouldn't steal their tusks. However, finding a really old walrus ivory tusk that's 1,000 years old is a very cool material to use. It looks really nice and it's totally ethical, so we're gonna use that. The other kind of ivory that we do use occasionally is mammoth ivory. We're also not killing any mammoths for that. That's also very old and ethically sourced. With that being said, let's go ahead and move into cutting up a piece of that and milling a slot in it to be able to fit up onto the backside of this guard. Well, it turns out that the pizza cutter not only will cut pizzas, but also cuts people. Big old thumbs up on that one. It's coming along super, super well. This is gonna be just a killer combination of materials. I love this color combo, the Damascus, the bronze, the ivory, and then the dark curly wood. Looks so nice. I just love it. I've done it on a couple other pieces and just can't get enough of it. I think we're gonna have to call it there for today's episode, but stay tuned for the next episode wherein we're gonna be playing with a little bit more of that nice gold color. Doing some other fun stuff on this thing, getting it hopefully all finished up. I appreciate you guys following along. Before we end it, let's thank today's sponsor.
Today's episode has been sponsored by NordVPN, the long-time sponsor of the show, thanks to your support of them. They protect your browsing experience by acting as an intermediary between you and the websites you browse and encrypting the connection between them. It gives you anonymity, it gives you security, it also gives you flexibility. In their handy-dandy app for iOS, Mac, Android, and PC, you can quickly change the countries from which the websites you browse think you're browsing from. Switching countries like this enables you to access content to stream that you wouldn't otherwise be able to access if it wasn't available in your territory. And though I know you're probably not going to be traveling right now, Nord is fantastic if you're ever traveling and using public Wi-Fi, using a hotel Wi-Fi, because that's where you're really, really vulnerable for getting your data compromised. So get started with Nord by getting 68% off a 2-year plan. That's 24 months of Nord for just $371 a month at nordvpn.com/Forge. When you use code FORGE at checkout, you'll get an extra month for free as well. Thank you, Nord, for sponsoring this. Folks, be sure to check them out. They support this show. Your support of them helps support this show. See you very soon. Bye-bye.